AMD, next up here. Time to rant about AMD. So AMD, it's not the whole shareholder base, but there's enough of them that, man, they just complain, oh, AMD, oh my gosh, the stock never goes up, it goes down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a whiny bunch. And I don't know, maybe some of these folks bought AMD way back in like 2021, right? And so they've been holding it for years and like they think it's never going to go up or those sorts of things, right? And I'm a relatively new shareholder and I'm just so excited about AMD's future. I'm so excited about the products they have, the numbers they just reported, right? And I went over all that in last night's video. It's an incredible buying opportunity, in my opinion, at least, in regards to AMD stock. Like what's going on in their business model is going to be massive for not just the next year, but for the next 5-10 years, right? But yet the sentiment could just be, even I'm looking at Stacy Rascon, one of the analysts, chip analysts. My gosh, this guy is so like just negative on AMD. And I'm like, he was basically kind of putting out this thing of like, I don't even know. He said something yesterday, like, I don't even know if we need AMD. And I'm like, what? What? We don't know if we need AMD. You think all these massive companies like Meta and Google and Amazon, all these companies that are spending fortunes of money with AMD are all just doing it for the fun of it? Like, what planet are people on? I'm trying to figure that. Like, what planet are people on that they think like, oh, they're just going to do them favors? No. These massive tech companies are only buying all these AMD chips and placing all these orders for MI350, which is about to take off over summer, and MI400 next year. They're only doing that because AMD is going to help their business immensely. They don't just do it for the fun of it. They're not just going to say, let's go spend $5 billion at AMD because we got nothing else to spend money. What? No. They would just spend money on more Nvidia chips or something like that. Like, come on, man. So it's just ridiculous, right? But back to this notion of like impatience in regards to AMD and complaining and whatnot, right? I'm showing you a 5-year chart of Tesla stock back in the day, right? Tesla went nowhere for 5 years. If you held Tesla over this 5-year span, you know what you had to show for it? -8%. Now, over that time, Tesla made incredible progress in their business model. Elon Musk was heads down at Tesla, putting in great work back then. He was extremely focused on Tesla back then, right? The management team was very focused. The employee force was very focused. They were going to save the world. They're going to save the planet. Boom. It was a great time for the underlying fundamentals of Tesla, but the stock price sucked. And Tesla sales just went boom, 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 up. Look what Tesla revenue went from like 2014 to 2019. Look what happened to their revenue. It skyrocketed. Look what happened to stock price. Down. And then after that, the stock went through an absolutely insane run where folks like myself that were able to buy that stock, in 2019, we made, folks made hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, or tens of millions of dollars, depending upon how much you had invested in it, right? Boom, everybody got rich. Awesome. But it happened actually in a very short amount of time. And then if you actually look at Tesla, since after that big boom, Tesla stock has, again, not done anything for years, and it's not going to do anything for several years to go in the future. It's basically just stuck in a $100 to $400 range where it's just going to trade around for several years to go in the future, right? And so keep in mind, that's what happens with the stock, right? Palantir, if you bought that stock shortly after they went public, right, and you held it all the way through summer 2024, you had nothing to show for it. Oh, you did technically. You had a 1% gain. All those years passed by and you had a 1% gain. Now, if you're like me and you were buying shares left and right in 2022 and the beginning of 2023, you obviously made a fortune of money. Once again, hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars depending upon how much you bought for shares, right? And you held it through and you didn't just sell it after the first big pops there. My gosh. But the moral of the story is Palantir you didn't make any money for years in that stock, right? Nvidia, you look at that stock back in 2011 to 2015. What did you have to show for it? -11%, right? Stock didn't make any money for years, right? Years. So this is what happens. Like you can get in a stock and it doesn't go anywhere for years. So AMD shareholders complaining like, oh, it's not going in, it's not doing its thing. Look at the fundamentals of the business model. If you were looking at the fundamentals of Nvidia and all the stuff they were working on here, it was very clear Jensen was laying out what was going to be the future for Nvidia, which was going to be the future of technology, right? And so you could have looked at that and said, you know what? Like, I understand what they got going on here. The fundamentals are going to get really exciting over this next 10, 15 years. And I'm going to buy every share in sight and hold for the next many years, right? You know, you became, even if you bought a small amount, you still became likely a millionaire. If not somebody that's worth, 8 figures plus now. If you just bought the stock and held through during that time, right? But you could have complained the whole time instead and sold out and been like, the stock never goes up. And yeah, Jensen's doing all this cool stuff and the team's doing all this cool stuff and they're making all these chips that are going to be these big things in the future and these GPUs and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I'm sick of the stock. Come on, man. Come on. Meta. Obviously I've been able to take insane profits out of Meta, right? And additionally, I'm still sitting on $770,000 in gains just in the public account alone, right? But here's what you don't know. Let me show you what you don't know. I started buying Meta in the public account in 2018. Now, look at some of these prices I bought Meta at. 163, 162, 159, 157, 147, 132, 139, 137, 126, 131. Late 2022, the stock was $88. So, I lost roughly 50%, we can call it, 50% after holding that stock for years and years and years, right? But at the end of the day, I understood what was going on in the fundamentals of the company. I said, this is an incredible opportunity. You know what I did? I looked at the fundamentals and I said, they got some stuff that's going against them short term, but this is going to turn around. Zuckerberg's going to get this ship back in the right direction, right? And I bought shares. And I bought shares on October 27, 2022, and I made $49,000 in those shares. I bought 650 shares at $93.12 on October 31st, which was Halloween Day. I'm up $327,000 in those shares. I bought on November 3rd, 62 shares at $88.94. Who sold me Meta at $88.94? I usually don't get to buy the lows on a stock, but I got dang close, man. Got dang close. I think the low for Meta in 2022 was, like the intraday low, I think was like 88.10 or something like that. So I got pretty damn close to like the intraday low. That was insane. Up $31,000 there, $9,700 there, $7,200 there, $11,000 there, $14,000 there, $9,700 there, right? I was starting to run out of money, unfortunately, at the end of 2022. I was getting really, really low, because I was buying that dip like insane, right? But now you look back and it's like, oh my gosh, like think about all the profits I've taken in Meta now and think about all the gains I'm sitting on. And we're not even in a super exciting stock market right now. What happens when we go through the next bull cycle? Do you know what Meta's going to be in the next bull cycle? Jeez, come on, man. Now, a lot of these investors, they, especially if you're kind of newbie to the market and you're still trying to learn the game, right? People think stocks are going to move when they want them to move. Like, I want to buy AMD stock today and I want it to move tomorrow. No, it doesn't work like that, dude. Stocks don't move when you want them to move. Stocks don't move when necessarily even come out with great numbers. Stocks will move when they want to move. Not when you choose, I want my stock to go up tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. It's so much more complicated than that. And that's why every great investor will tell you can't predict the stock market or stock price moves on a day-to-day basis. Every great investor will tell you that. I'll tell you that. You can't do it. Foolish game, gambling game. You can predict where they're going maybe over a 5-year span, but not where they're going over a 5-day span, 5-week span, or even 5-month span. These stocks move when they want to move, right? And Warren Buffett, one of his best quotes ever, was the stock market is a device for transferring money from the inpatient to the patient. 100%, man. And, I consistently will watch people get impatient when the fundamentals of companies are getting better and better and better. If AMD, here's the thing. If AMD's revenues were down 36% instead of up 36%, right? You have full reason to complain. You have full reason to be like, Lisa Su, management team, what are you guys doing? If revenue was down 30+%. But it wasn't. It was up 30+%. So complaining about the stock price didn't go up, like it was up 1% or whatever instead of 20% like you wanted it to be. The fundamentals of the company are getting better. The MI350 is a much more exciting chip. The MI400 that's hit next year, much more exciting. So we're looking, and you look at the acquisitions AMD's done over the past few years, from Xilinx to ZT Systems, right? You look at the software suite of products, like you look at, they're putting all the pieces together for the next 10, 20 years, right? But you got people concerned with the next 10, 20 days. And you're missing the whole bigger picture in regards to the situation. And by doing that, you're just playing yourself in the end, right? And that goes, like, if you see a company where the fundamentals are literally deteriorating, right? The revenues are going down, like the business model is going down, the brand's going down, you have a right to complain. You have a right to sell out of that stock and say, you know what, I'm moving on to better places. But with something like AMD, the brand's in a better place, the products are in a better place, the revenue's in a better place, the margins are in a better place, the profitability's in a better place, right? And you got a CEO leading that company that, shortly after she took that company over, it was a $2 stock. It's a $100 stock today. $100. And it was $2. It was a $2 chuck shortly after she took it over 10 years ago, right? Stocks aren't going to move when you want them to move, man. They're going to move when they want to move. And you just got to be able to see an opportunity in the market, pounce, invest in those opportunities. And then if you're right about the company's fundamentals over the next 5 years, you will be rewarded. Will you be rewarded over the next 5 days, 5 weeks, or 5 months? That's anybody's best guess, right? No, in regards to Meta and Amazon, how high could those stocks potentially go here? Well, here's the deal, okay? Meta's trading at a 22 forward P right now, which keep in mind, they'll probably keep beat analyst numbers throughout the year, so it's probably even lower than that. Amazon's at a 29. Amazon should easily be well into the 30s forward P, and Meta should be approaching a 30 P as well. So, could those stocks go to 700 or 800 this year? Here's the deal, okay? Listen. If the stock market hits new highs this year, you'll see Meta go to $700 or $800 a share. And you're going to watch Amazon stock go to 250 plus this year, if we go to new all-time highs in the NASDAQ, new all-time highs in the SP 500. Now, if we get another big crash because of Trump tariffs, blah, 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 that, all bets are off. Who knows? But if we go back to new all-time highs this year, market just kind of keeps bouncing back. We start announcing trade deals with this country, oh, China, we got a deal. As long as that happens over the next few months, we'll probably go back to new all-time highs. And then we'll probably be talking about Meta at $700 or $800 a share at some point this year. And we'll probably be talking about Amazon stock goes to 250, if not 275 this year. So those stocks, because the fundamentals are so phenomenal, regardless of the environment, right? Meta put up, 19% revenue growth on a constant currency basis, right? Year over year. In this environment, can't beat it, man. Can't beat it, okay? Hey, I want to thank you so much for watching that clip here today. I hope you really enjoyed that one. What you're looking at right now is 1000xstocks.com. 1000x does not just show you a billion different metrics that are completely irrelevant. It's curated, mandatory metrics, advanced metrics, curated for long-term investors, not for traders, so you can understand a company on the highest level possible, how it operates, and most importantly, making judgments on whether you want to invest capital into a company or not. Understanding the upside, the downside with companies. Is that company worth our investments, or shall we keep our hands away? So how you can access 1000xstocks.com is you can go to the description area of this video, or you can go to 1000xstocks.com, apply for access to the service. Alrighty, let's react to AMD CEO Lisa Su.
Kramer wasn't here. Our apologies, but it's great to have you.
It's wonderful to be here with you. Good morning, guys.
We mentioned this number that you put on the restriction effect. How do you get to the number, and how do you think that, what's the trajectory of that figure as we go forward?
Well, Carl, let me start with first, we reported a great first quarter. I think we saw strength in across all of our businesses. We saw strength in our client and gaming segments. We saw strength overall in our data center segment. And I think that just goes to, the foundation of our business, which is, really on high performance computing. Now, to your question, as it relates to some of the China export controls that came out earlier in April, I would say that it is a headwind in our business. We said it was a $700 million reduction in revenue for the second quarter and $1.5 billion for the full year. But even within that backdrop, what we see is an environment which is very, very favorable to our product cycles and all of the great technology that we have coming out in 2025. So we still see the opportunity to grow strong double digits in 2025. And, that is really on the strength of the overall portfolio that we have.
Yeah, a lot of the bullish notes today take note of new chips, right? They will be debuting relatively soon, going to impact favorably the second half. And then this notion, Lisa, I'm not sure how comfortable you are addressing it, of Intel as a shared donor.
Well, let me take, both aspects of it. First, let's start with, what we're doing. We are really about, having, very strong product roadmaps out there. We've always said that for, all of the years that we've been talking. It's about having, a great product portfolio that really plays to what customers need right now. So we see excitement in our data center portfolio. Today, our EPYC processors, our server CPUs are, all over, every major cloud provider is using our server CPUs. We have tremendous opportunities and growth in the enterprise market where you see many of the Forbes 2000 companies also selecting AMD.
That was huge. Did you hear what she just said there? Right? Talks about all the biggest companies are using their chips. And this goes back to something that made me really upset that happened this week. Okay. Big name chip analyst, Stacy Rascon, comes out, he goes on CNBC, and he says something to the effect of, with AMD, I know this sounds bad, but I don't even know if we need them, right? And I was just kind of like, what? Like, it's just a ridiculous statement from somebody that's supposed to be a very respected chip analyst. And he consistently kind of disrespects AMD, in my personal opinion, right? But it was just a ridiculous statement from him. Because at the end of the day, why are all these massive tech companies buying AMD chips? Why are they going to load up on MI350s and MI400s next year when those come out, and MI350s over the back half of this year? You think they're just doing that to do favors for AMD because they're just bored and they're just like, let's just give AMD a bunch of money? It's not how business works, man. It's just ridiculous, right? Like, did you see Amazon bought a bunch of AMD stock recently? Amazon bought a bunch of AMD stock. I think it was like $84 million worth of AMD stock or something like that, right? I wish I had $84 million of AMD stock. You think Amazon's like, let's just buy AMD stock for the fun of it. Let's just throw $80 million plus in AMD. Like, no. Everything is calculated at a company like Amazon, right? So...
And I think that's because, we've shown them year over year that we continue to give them significant total cost of ownership to make it more efficient for them to get their job done. We're also very excited about the AI opportunity. I think, AI, I heard you guys talking about it as I was coming on. I absolutely believe we're still in the very early innings of AI when we think about the opportunity. And yes, there are some, puts and takes and bumps in the road, but overall, we're still at the place where enterprises are just beginning to feel what AI can do for them. And then also the PC market is a market that has done extremely well for us and is a place where, people are upgrading their PCs. They want to upgrade to the best technology that has, great performance as well as great efficiency. And, that's what we have in our roadmap.
Lisa, you can't get away from the questions about tariffs, I'm afraid. I know on the call there were quite a few, and I'm going to go there as well because it is a key part here. I mean, do you have any expectations as to whether there will be sectoral tariffs or what they might be? And I also would be interested to know whether you expect there was some pull forward in terms of demand as a result of fear of potential tariffs.
Sure, David. So, look, I think we're all watching the regulatory environment, very, very carefully. As it relates to sectoral tariffs, we're in active conversations with the administration as they're thinking about both the short-term as well as the long-term policy. The long-term policy arc is we want more U.S. manufacturing. We want more manufacturing here in the United States, and we are actively moving a bunch of our manufacturing here, but we realize it's going to take some time, and I think that's the balance that has to come in play with sectoral tariffs, and we'll have to see how that comes forward. Now, to your question about the strength in our business relative to tariff pull forwards, I believe that, again, every customer and every industry is looking at this slightly differently. From our standpoint, our strength is actually very much focused on the strength of our product portfolio. I think the relative tariff impact was small, whereas the relative opportunity for us has been just end user demand for our products. But we're going to continue to watch this very carefully. And the beauty of the business, David, is I think we've learned to become very agile through all of the things that have happened in the semiconductor supply chain, and we're going to continue to watch all of these trends very carefully and make sure that we react appropriately going forward.
Yeah, you mentioned being agile as well on the call and said you have a good overall inventory position. I guess my follow-up would be, what does it mean to be very agile? What does that actually mean?
It means we have a great balance sheet. It means that we have great customer relationships. I think we plan for success, so we make sure that we are planning for a market that is, robust to our products. But we will certainly adjust as needed if we see the macro weakening. Now, I have to say, for customer ordering patterns today, we're already, let's call it a month into the second quarter. The month of April was actually quite robust, so it gives us confidence.
Boom. Boom. Anybody that wants to try to throw water on like demand or in regards to the space or something like that, you heard what Lisa Su just said right there. She said what? She said demand was robust in April.
People aren't making very short-term decisions right now. I think they're all wanting to ensure that we watch the environment, but recognize that we've been through many of these types of situations before, and we're able to adjust the supply chains and our inventory levels as needed as we see how the macro does over the next couple of quarters.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we talked to so many CEOs here, and I've just been at a conference with many of them. Certainty keeps coming up. I'm sure you want it as well. So on the sectoral tariffs and on the certainty, at least, that you hope is out there at some point so you know how to run your business the way you want to. Any timeline, any expectation on your part as to when and if that will come?
Back to 7.
Well, there's no question that we would prefer a more certain environment, but there's also a belief that we're not just managing what happens month to month.
Exactly.
I mean, our roadmaps are multi-year roadmaps, and
Boom.
we must invest, and we're continuing to invest.
Boom.
And the best way, from a certainty standpoint, is for us to stay very, very tied in through our industry associations, like the Semiconductor Industry Association, as well as significant conversations with this administration to ensure that we stay in lockstep with what their priorities are.
Lisa, we've had some high-profile guests on our air this week talking about AI and warning us of sort of black swan, adverse scenarios, security concerns, the possibility of humanity getting wiped out. How do you roll all of that into your customer pitches, your internal discussions, and the way you speak publicly?
Well, Carl, what I like to say and what I truly believe is that, AI is the most important technology that we've experienced, over the last, let's call it 50 years. I mean, I think it's that transformational. I think these black swan events are on the unlikely side. There's no question that as an industry, we have to have safeguards. There's no question that, there's work to do in those areas. But we can't underestimate the power of this technology. And the way I look at it is it affects every enterprise, every research institution, every person in terms of how we can utilize technology to really make our lives more efficient, more capable, and eventually more productive. So from my standpoint, I always believe that this is a long technology arc that we're on. It's not a short technology arc. And we're still in the very early innings of AI, and we need to continue to work and make sure that we get the full benefit of the technology.
But to the degree that we're looking for a stair-step function, right, by ability, would you say that happens?
Before we go further here, let me just say, the fear, oh my gosh, AI is going to wipe out humanity and these sorts of things. Let me be very crystal clear about this. It's like the best sales pitch ever for what companies like AMD, Nvidia, and everybody else in the AI space are doing. Like, if you're talking about a technology is potentially so powerful to wipe out all of humanity, you're not going to use it for your business? If it's that powerful, you like, my gosh, it must change your business forever. You better go get some Palantir software, right? Like, you better get some AMD chips. You better buy some Nvidia chips, right? Like, if it's that powerful, it's going to wipe out humanity. Oh my gosh, right? So, yeah, it's just some reverse psychology there that I think's interesting.
Is that a 25 sort of narrative, or is it more about 26? Is there a year that you can pick where this is going to hit us like a ton of bricks?
I would say I think it's hitting us every year, Carl. And I mean, I think all of us can see how AI has impacted our lives even today. But yes, I think we're going to see, more as, these models get better, as they get more deployed into more applications. I think we're going to see more benefits. I think for enterprises, I can tell you just within AMD, we are using AI actively across our enterprise, and we're ramping that up further. And so I think each year we're going to see continued usage of the technology, and it'll be at a point where you're not even thinking, is it AI or is it not AI? You're going to think that my computing has just gotten so much more capable, for me, and that's a great thing.
Lisa, how do you think about the premise and the intent of the restrictions on sale of certain products to China on the basis of trying to withhold, the latest capabilities from that country? I mean, there's been this big debate out there of saying, look, they're creating domestic competitors. You're kind of excluding certain U.S. producers from those markets, and maybe it's not even achieving what was necessary. On the other hand, staying 6 or 12 months ahead of the Chinese capabilities also seems like it might be worthwhile.
Well, I'd like to maybe give us the perspective of this. Export controls are important. We are a U.S. company. We want to ensure that our technology is being used, to really advance U.S. national security interests and all that stuff. All that being said, China is an important market. China is a large market, and there's a balance to be played between, sort of restricting certain chips and enabling sort of the larger access to the market, which I do agree that, there's a large opportunity there. So, my view is it's important. Probably the most important thing is that, the U.S. leads in AI today. That's a really great position for us to be in. We want as many countries as possible to adopt our AI technology, and I think that's one of the things that we feel very strongly about. And then there should be a balance between export controls for national security, as well as, ensuring that we get the widest possible adoption of our technology, because that's a good thing for, U.S. jobs and the U.S. economy.
Jim's going to be jealous that we had the conversation all to ourselves, but look forward to having you on next time with him, Lisa. Thanks so much, as always.
What a banger of a video this is.